Welcome to today's ceremony where the men and women of United States Transportation Command pay special tribute to Major General Cheryn L. Fasano on the occasion of her retirement from the Army Reserve after 38 years of dedicated service to our country. I am Lieutenant Colonel Randall Sumbles, and I will be your narrator. The presiding officer for today's ceremony is the Commander, United States Transportation Command, General Jacqueline Van Ovost. At this time, we would like to recognize our distinguished guests. Please hold your applause until all guests have been introduced. General Fasano's spouse, John, her stepchildren, Gabriella and Andrew, her parents, Chuck and Carol, her sister and brother-in-law, Carolyn and Bill, her sister-in-law, Beth, and husband, Stephen, her sister-in-law, Mary Lynn, and husband, Chris, and their children, Mary and Gregory. We would also like to welcome General Van Ovost's spouse, Alan, the Chief of Staff, Major General Susan Henderson, and her spouse, Bill, our Command Senior Enlisted Leader, Chief Master Sergeant Brian Krzelnik, the Deputy Commander of the Military Sea Lift Command, Rear Admiral Jeffrey Spivey, and all general officers, flag officers, senior executive service personnel, directors, deputy directors, senior enlisted leaders, co-workers, friends, and family joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the playing of Ruffles and Flourishes, the national anthem, and the invocation. Pastor Sedgwick will now provide the invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we give you all thanks and praise for the opportunity and the privilege to celebrate the distinguished career of your servant, Major General Cheryn Fasano, this afternoon in front of this assembly of family and friends, along with a substantial contingent of active and reserve component military members from just about every branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. Your servant Cheryn might feel a touch of anxiety and apprehension as she transitions from decades of service attaining the pay grade of Major General to becoming a soldier for life. Your prophet Joshua must have felt the same degree of anxiety and apprehension when he led your chosen people on the last leg of their journey into the Promised Land. And your words to the prophet Joshua most certainly apply to your servant Cheryn. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Major General Cheryn Fasano knows what it means to be strong and courageous. She assumed command of the Joint Transportation Reserve Unit at the height of the pandemic and shepherded this rock star collection of citizen airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, sailors, and soldiers to play a vital role in ensuring the safety and security of the USTRANSCOM and SDDC civilian and military workforces. During the hasty and hectic withdrawal of U.S. forces from Afghanistan, JTRU members worked shoulder to shoulder with their active duty counterparts in every U.S. TRANSCOM directorate to establish good order and discipline in the midst of a chaotic military mission. And I give you thanks, Heavenly Father, for the privilege to have served as the honorary chaplain of the Joint Transportation Reserve Unit during my tenure at U.S. TRANSCOM, because it gave me the opportunity to work with such a dedicated and inspirational leader. And as Major General Cheryn Fasano closes this chapter in her military career, we know that your promise remains, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And we humbly pray that you continue to bless and keep your servant Cheryn in your heavenly grip, and that you continue to guide her steps, as she will most certainly remain a blessing to her family, friends, and also to each one of us. And we pray these things in your most holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Sedgwick. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. General Van Vost, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being with us today to celebrate the lifetime of service of Major General Cheryn Fasano and her family. Sharon and John, thank you both for your service to our nation and the positive impacts that you've given in the lives of countless service members and their families over the last 38 years. 38 years, wow. I know it's tough to fully step out of uniform, but it's really exciting knowing that you'll soon be tackling new adventures together. John, you're undoubtedly the foundation of which Sharon's leadership, success, and happiness resides. Thank you for your sacrifices in supporting her service and for your own years in uniform. Congrats on celebrating 29 years of marriage this year, and thank you for your continued support to the military community through your support at USAA. Also want to thank Gabby, for your devotion to both John and Sharon. I would say the amount of pride that they have for you cannot be overstated. Thanks for your 10 years of service in the Navy as a corpsman, providing unparalleled care to our sailors and to our Marines. I'm sure that your stepmom was immensely honored to officiate your reenlistment this February as you continue building on the Fasano family legacy. Thanks also to Andrew for your service, both in the Army and now in a law enforcement role as a street officer. Congratulations on your recent graduation from the Law Enforcement Academy. Public service, really important. I also like to send a warm welcome to Sharon's family for celebrating this special day with us. Of course, her mom and dad, Chuck and Carol, coming out from Carson City, Nevada. We appreciate the influence that you've had on Sharon, especially motivating her service in the U.S. Army Reserves, or compelling her service, more on that later, where we and countless soldiers have reaped the benefits. Carol, your leadership experience in the reserve had an indelible impact on her success, so thank you. And Chuck, of course, thank you for your service. You and Carol shaped Sharon into the leader she is today. As a West Point grad who served in Vietnam and retired as a lieutenant colonel in '87, you were uniquely qualified to raise a daughter such as Sharon. To John's parents, who could not be with us here today, Bill and Carol Fasano, thank you both for your support for Sharon and John and their family. Finally, thanks to all the extended family and friends here today and mentors that have helped her along the way. We appreciate everything you have done to help develop this amazingly successful leader. Now, much like any good story, character development is as important as the story itself. Sharon benefited from the awesome experiences that ultimately led her down the path of Army service, travel, and adventure. And as I mentioned, both of Sharon's parents were in the Army, with her father as an engineer that flew fixed-wing aircraft in Vietnam and her mother an Army nurse. With this kind of example and legacy, it would seem that Cheryn would be destined for service. But was she? Raised an Army brat, Cheryn was no stranger to frequent moves, but the one that sticks out the most was the 5 years spent in Frankfurt and Bad Tolz, Germany. It was there that her love for travel began. In fact, in the back of a 1970s era VW camper. The kind of camper van where the tent pops out and leans to, where you stick all the family in there. And Chuck's like, oh yeah, jammed them all in there. It was in this van that the family took many trips across Europe, including England and France, Austria, and Switzerland, to name a few. And many of these trips camping in the cramped space of that VW. However, this practice came to an unceremonious end when the family decided to camp at a ski resort, which Cheryn recalls was very cold. Skiing soon became the family activity, enjoying the amazing European ski resorts, so much so that Chuck became a ski instructor. That's pretty awesome. Continuing, let's just say, well into your mature age. So congratulations on that. To this day, skiing continues to be a part of bringing the family together, but now joining Chuck and Carol in Carson City, Nevada. And while skiing was the main family activity, Cheryn and her sister were encouraged to participate in other sports: gym, softball, soccer, basketball, golf, tennis, you name it, contributing to her love and fitness, and let's just say a slightly bit of competition in her life. Slight. The love, commitment, and selfless service demonstrated during these formative years undoubtedly shaped the amazing person and leader that she is today, leading to the incredible impact for the Army and the service members that she has had the privilege to serve with. However, that service almost never came to be, and we have Cheryn's mom to thank for that. Yes. Cheryn's family returned to Indianapolis from Germany when she was 16, entering her last 2 years of high school. And at the time, Carol was working in the Army Reserve Personnel Center and laying, not so subtle hints that to Cheryn that the Army Reserve was calling her name. However, Cheryn did not agree and was adamant that she had no interest in enlisting because, after all, teenagers are smarter than our parents. So imagine her surprise when coming home from school one day when Sergeant First Class Beverly, the Army recruiter, was sitting in her family living room waiting for her to sign up. Fuming at her mother, Cheryn made it once again abundantly clear she would not be joining the Army. And as any good mother would, support her daughter, Carol agreed, fine, you don't have to, but hand over the car keys now and plan on finding a place to live after you graduate from high school. So mothers do know how to get our attention, don't they? Beaten but not defeated, Cheryn reluctantly agreed to enlist in the reserves, focusing on finishing her 6-year commitment and then moving on. But then an amazing thing happened. Cheryn fell in love. It's safe to say that Cheryn's service in the reserve has been about continuously falling in love. First, she fell in love with the Army itself while basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey, reveling in the physical and mental challenges, the camaraderie, and the discipline. So Cheryn is a self-professed lover of rules and punctuality. I know that comes to no surprise to any of you. More evidence that the Army was perfect for her. This only made her hungry for more. She immediately enrolled in the Army ROTC, commissioning early at the age of 20, in love with the idea of leading our soldiers. Mobilizing as a young lieutenant to Fort Hood, Texas, Cheryn met the next big love of her life, then Captain John Fasano. As all fairy tale love stories go, it was love at first fight. Working in the G1 Human Resources of 13 Corps Support Command, Cheryn was collecting the survey results for the command and had yet to receive feedback from the 1st Medical Brigade. Calling to check on the completion of said survey, Cheryn was taken aback by the gruff response she received from John with, "Look, Lieutenant, I don't have time to do your damn survey." Well, Cheryn just had to go meet this jerk in person and convince him what the right thing to do was. And wouldn't you know it, as soon as she entered Captain Fasano's office, there was little doubt it was meant to be. And now, 29 years later, your love continues to grow in all the places you go. And that's not from Dr. Seuss. Then came her love for running, growing from 2 miles twice a year to chasing the glory of medals in 5Ks and marathons, finishing 5 in all. Throughout the years, John and Cheryn fell in love with traveling the world, visiting 20 countries and 46 of 50 states in the U.S. I hear that their trips to Australia and New Zealand included bungee jumping off of multiple bridges, so make sure to ask Cheryn about her matrix pose off the Auckland Bridge. With a heart as big as hers, it's clear that Cheryn led with love, compassion, and a desire to make the Army better than when she started. Her legacy in service and her desire to mentor the next group of leaders is a testament to this. 38 years of service does not happen by accident. Wherever Cheryn has been, she left a legacy of success and was renowned for her natural leadership skills, her ability to understand and operate across the operational and strategic levels to achieve outcomes. Serving in multiple combatant command areas of operations, some of Cheryn's career included deploying to Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2004-2005 as a Special Operations Transport Officer. During her tenure, she oversaw the movement of all classes of supply and development of the logistics packages, or log packs, which were convoys, which at that time was novel. It consisted of a mix of military cargo trucks, civilian cargo trucks, and protection vehicles, which then became the standard. She served in European Command in 2005 and 2006 in the J4, and then returning in 2008 to 2010 to U.S. Army Europe, deploying forward to Bulgaria to serve as the Task Force S4. She commanded the brigade level, leading the 475th Quartermaster Group Petroleum, and most impressively, Cheryn commanded the 310th Expeditionary Sustainment Command in Indianapolis with a force of over 7,000 soldiers. Later, she mobilized to Fort Sam Houston, Texas as the Deputy Commanding General for the 377th Theater Sustainment Command, where she led the unprecedented mobilization in support of COVID response. Through her engagement with the COVAX teams, FEMA, and local government officials, she ensured that 5,100 multi-service medical providers deployed to 26 states and U.S. territories where they provided more than 4.9 million COVID shots. And then she came to me, and I gave her 2 jobs because I knew she was capable of so much more. She served both as the commander of the Joint Transportation Reserve Unit and as my mobilization assistant. As the JTRU commander, Major General Fasano's expertise and strategic leadership were pivotal as she improved the readiness and effectiveness of our reserve elements while seamlessly integrating TRANSCOM reserve forces to expand capabilities as the command scaled to meet multiple contingencies like COVID, the Afghanistan NEO, and our support to Ukraine. Cheryn led the deactivation of the JTRU in 2023, which marked the conclusion of an era, underscoring the unit's rich history and significant contributions to TRANSCOM's mission spanning 30 years. Cheryn's tenure as the JTRU commander will be remembered as a testament to her exceptional leadership, management skills, and unwavering commitment to excellence. During the poignant deactivation ceremony, Cheryn honored the JTRU by casing the colors, symbolizing the unit's honorable service and commitment. Her leadership at this solemn event showcased her profound respect for the unit's history, traditions, and the men and women who served under its banner, further emphasizing her deep commitment to the unit legacy. As my military advisor on reserve affairs, Cheryn was critical in expanding relationships with the U.S. Army Reserve Command, the Coast Guard Reserves, the Air Force Reserve Command, and U.S. Naval Reserves. Taking from these relationships, she highlighted the risks and areas of concern, arming me with what I needed to advocate for the reserve component equities, which were critical to the TRANSCOM mission. With Cheryn's expertise, I was confident that I had a credible reserve force. Her ability to integrate across all compos makes her a force multiplier. Her legacy of service is not to be outdone by her passion in mentorship and stewarding the profession for the next cohort of senior leaders. Cheryn spends a great deal of her time mentoring officers of all ranks on how to navigate a career in the Army Reserve. Having served on promotion, command, and school select boards, Cheryn has a unique insight on what it takes for officers to be successful. She's also focused on member development As the JTRU commander, she pushed for educational opportunities, facilitated 2 professional development trips with a focus on strategic level logistics. Much like a parent's love seeing their child succeed, Cheryn relishes in the success of the officers she's had the privilege to mentor. It's the fact that she's continuously sought out for these sessions that truly reflects her impact on the organizations she's been blessed to be a part of, including right here at TRANSCOM, where I am grateful for her advisement and mentorship on reserve affairs that she continues to afford me. Cheryn, much like the marathons you enjoyed running, it seems this run too has come to an end. And what a race it was. And yes, we're even going to give you a medal. Thanks for your selfless service to our country, and what a legacy you have left. You've had such an incredible impact on and been an inspiration to thousands of others. Thank you, John, for your service and your continued support to Cheryn. Now go enjoy some more of that love for travel. I believe you have 4 states left. Thanks for including me in your momentous day. Thanks once again to your family and friends and mentors who have supported you throughout the years. Godspeed in your retirement. You've surely earned it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as General Vanovos presents the Defense Superior Service Medal to Major General Fasano and remain standing for the reading of the retirement order. Attention to orders. Citation to accompany the award of the Defense Superior Service Medal to Major General Cheryn L. Fasano. Major General Cheryn L. Fasano, United States Army Reserve, distinguished herself by superior meritorious service in a position of significant responsibility as the Mobilization Assistant to the Combatant Commander and Commander, Joint Transportation Reserve Unit, United States Transportation Command, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, from July 2021 to July 2024. During this period, General Fasano established and expanded critical relationships with key organizations, clarified mobilization policies, and championed seamless joint reserve member integration. General Fasano's strategic vision enabled the United States Transportation Command's ability to project and sustain military power globally. She demonstrated unwavering commitment to the command's mission during heightened global tensions, applying her expertise to improve productivity and enhance the command's response to crisis. Her decisive actions during the COVID-19 pandemic minimized disruptions to operations in unprecedented times. General Fasano's strategic acumen played a pivotal role in ensuring readiness and effectiveness of reservists activated in support of Operation Allies Refuge and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Under her direction, the Joint Transportation Reserve Unit showcased a resolve to adapt to the rapidly evolving strategic environment. General Fasano's leadership, unwavering dedication, and strategic vision greatly influenced the Joint Transportation Reserve Unit's mission success. Ultimately, she led the deactivation of the Joint Transportation Reserve Unit and organized the United States Transportation Command Reserve elements, leaving behind a legacy and commitment to forward progress. She consistently demonstrated transformational leadership and innovative vision, culminating in a career of over 38 years military service. The distinctive accomplishments of Major General Fasano reflect great credit upon herself, the United States Army Reserve, the United States Transportation Command, and the Department of Defense. Please remain standing for the reading of the retirement order. Attention to orders. Special order number 121532706. Major General Cheryn L. Fasano, effective 31 July 2024, you are assigned to the Retired Reserve in the grade of Major General by order of the Secretary of the Army. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, General Fasano will be presented her certificate of retirement. The certificate reads, "To all who shall see these presents greeting, this to certify that Major General Cheryn L. Fasano, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Army on the 31st day of July, 2024. Signed, Randy A. George, General, United States Army, Chief of Staff." We will now present General Fasano with a certificate from President Joseph R. Biden, Jr. It reads, "Certificate of Appreciation for Service in the Armed Forces of the United States of America. Major General Cheryn L. Fasano, I extend my personal gratitude and sincere appreciation of a grateful nation to you for your patriotic service to our country. Your bravery and dedication in our armed forces help protect your fellow Americans during a critical moment in our history and contributed to a world of greater security and growing prosperity. Your devotion to duty, honor, and country, in keeping with the long traditions of the finest military in the world, embodied the American ideal of selfless service. Our nation owes you an incredible debt. Your commitment and the example you set will inspire future generations to serve with pride and to keep our country secure. You represent the best of our nation, and I join our fellow Americans in saluting your honorable service. I wish you happiness and success in your next chapter." We will now present General Fasano with a letter from Christine Warmoth, Secretary of the Army. It reads, "Major General Cheryn L. Fasano, thank you to you and your family for your many years of dedicated service and commitment to our nation. Only 17% of all soldiers who join the Army persevere until retirement. Please accept our congratulations for reaching this personal milestone. As you transition to the next chapter of your life, you will represent the Army in your community and may be the only connection to the military many people ever have. Our challenge to you is to hire and inspire. Hire veterans if you can, or refer them to positions that you know about. Inspire those whom you interact to serve or support those that do. Most of all, tell your Army story, what led you to serve and the positive impact the Army had on you. In this box, we present you with the United States flag, a Soldier for Life lapel pin, and a Soldier for Life decal. These items are symbols of your commitment to the Army and your nation. Display them proudly around your home, on your vehicle, and in your community as a way to continue to support the Army, its people, our soldiers, family, civilian, and soldiers for life." We will now present General Fasano with a certificate from Lieutenant General Jody Daniels, Chief of the United States Army Reserve. It reads, "Certificate of Appreciation to Major General Cheryn L. Fasano on the occasion of the completion of your active reserve service. I wish to extend to you my personal thanks and sincere appreciation of the United States Army for your devotion to duty and the many years of outstanding service which you have given to our country." Dr. Fasano, will you please join your wife on stage? Every retiree receives a special retirement pin as a memento of his or her service. At this time, we would like to ask Dr. Fasano to place this pin on General Fasano's lapel to symbolize her transition to the retired status. The pin stands as a testament of her service to our great nation. To all who shall see it, know that Major General Cheryn L. Fasano has met all challenges set before her and has served our country with pride, honor, and dignity. Every successful military member knows and understands the value of the contributions of his or her family to the member's career, especially the efforts of the spouse. General Van Ovost will now present Dr. John W. Fasano with a spouse certificate of appreciation, which reads, Certificate of Appreciation to all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that John W. Fasano, on the occasion of the retirement of your spouse from the United States Army, has earned grateful appreciation for your own unselfish, faithful, and devoted service. Your unfailing support and understanding helped to make possible your spouse's lasting contribution to this nation. Signed, Randy A. George, General, United States Army, Chief of Staff. Thank you, General Van Ovost and Dr. Fasano. General Fasano has received numerous additional letters from various leaders that are on display on the table to the left of the stage. You are welcome to read these letters following the ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce for the very first time Major General Cheryn L. Fasano, United States Army, retired.
Thank you all so much. Let me check the time. So I got plenty of time. My speech, I'm good. Let's settle in right now. Hey, thank you all for attending today. It really means the world to me that you took the time and effort to get out here to help me celebrate my retirement after 38 years. And I'm especially appreciative of my family and friends who have traveled long distances, and the farthest being Rhode Island, Florida, and California. General Van Ovost, thank you so much for hosting my retirement today, but especially thank you for being a role model and mentor during my 3 years here at United States Transportation Command. And you've led the way not just for females during your own career, but all service members. And I could not have asked for a better assignment as my final assignment in the military. You've demonstrated to me that you can be strong and competent, yet still be compassionate and approachable. So I appreciate that. And Pastor Sedgwick, where did he get off to? He had his assigned seat right here, and he disappeared. You're hiding out. Pastor Sedgwick, thank you for being here today and for giving that wonderful invocation. And when you were here at TRANSCOM, and I always said you were a friend of the JTRU, and you mentioned it during your invocation, the honorary member of the JTRU. And I can also say now we are friends, and I do love your sense of humor. You keep it going. From time to time, I can't come up with witty remarks as quickly as you can. The ceremony wouldn't be possible without the protocol team, and I want to say a special thanks to Mariah Deason. Also, the band over here, I went over and thanked them personally earlier. The ushers and escorts, the proffer, the stand-in proffer, the last-minute sub, and appreciate that quick effort in the Scott Event Center. Thank you all for helping with the ceremony, and if you would just give a round of applause for all those who made this possible. I'm going to get it right. Chief Krzelnik, you have been everything for the JTRU from the very beginning. You were here on station, I think, for a week, and you came to our dining out last year. You're here today, and I greatly appreciate your support And I've heard this a few times, but I haven't really heard an enthusiastic one except when it's for the boss's comment, but I would really love to get a woo from you. Woo! Yes. I want to say thank you to the TRANSCOM component commanders. I believe Admiral Spivey came up. I'm looking at the list, and I was like, oh, Admiral Spivey's coming, because originally I didn't know, so I appreciate you being here, the deputy over at Military Sea Lift Command. We became fast friends, met at one of the component commanders conference when we were over at August the Mansion, and just really enjoyed the conversation with you, and I appreciate your support. So the Jaders, of course, Mr. Brennan is here, Ms. Benningfield, Mr. and Mr. Greg, Ms. Gregg are here somewhere, I think. Daryl and Trina? No, I'm not sure they're going to be here. Colonel Mortone. And I've said from the very start of my tenure at TRANSCOM in 2021, I'm just amazed at the amount of support that the commanders and the directorates give to the reservists assigned to this command, and you all really made my job as a JTRU commander super easy. Before I continue, I want to take the time to acknowledge my family and friends here today, because what we do in the military would not be possible if we didn't have their love and support. It truly does take a village to build a military career. I was very deliberate in my invitation list, and you're here because you had a direct impact on my career. Again, you made a great effort to be here, and I'm grateful for that. So just bear with me as I'll acknowledge those family and friends, please. This tends to be the longest part of the speech. But first and most importantly, my husband, John, you've been by my side for 30 years, and your unwavering love and commitment to us never fails to amaze me. You've been there for every ceremony since I was promoted to captain. I've arranged, and you arranged for a pretty incredible, you're making me cry. Arranged for a pretty incredible promotion ceremony for me when I made colonel. So it was a private boat ride hosted by the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam commander. Some of you might know him, Captain Jeff James. I think he showed up on Hawaii 5-0 a few times. But personal cruise out to the USS Arizona, where many great American heroes lost their lives in service to this nation on December 7th, 1941. I can unequivocally state that I would not be where I am today had it not been for your love and support. And I have a gift for you. So of course my parents, Chuck and Carol, they've been at each of my last 3 promotions. So Colonel, Brigadier General, Major General, and now they're here supporting me. I definitely put you through some serious trials as I was growing up, probably a few more as I became an adult, but you never wavered in your love and support for me. So you've showed me how to have a successful marriage and also how to have a successful military career. And something for you. My stepdaughter, Gabby, who followed her father and me into service, and she just passed 10 years in the Navy. I'm proud of the woman that you've become and your dedication to the nation. And my stepson, Andrew, he's an Army veteran as well, and now proudly serving as a Bexar County Sheriff's Deputy, and you've definitely found your niche. This is really working for you. I'm proud of both of you. My sister Carolyn, who has supported me throughout her entire life, because I am 11 and a half months older than she is, so I had to wait. She can't support me through my entire life, it's through her entire life. And her husband, Bill, who's been part of the Swanson family for over 25 years, so I have something for you as well. Not for you, Bill, just for my sister. my sisters-in-law, Beth and Mary Lynn, I now consider you sisters. I mean, we've been in each other's lives for so long. Beth's husband, Stephen, is a great friend, and it's a wicked sense of humor. They're from the Northeast, so it's a wicked sense of humor from up there. And Chris, you've been amazing. You quickly integrated into the Fasano family, and you put up with the craziness, so that's always good. And Molly and Gregory, my niece and nephew, love you like you're my own children, so I have something for you as well. I see you all are paying attention to what's on the table. That was really enthusiastic applause with the last things that were on that table. So just want to say thank you as well to my mom's cousin Tony and his beautiful wife Carrie. We didn't really know each other until about 10 years ago, and I showed up in Tampa on TDY, and I just called out of the blue and said, hey, you want to get together? And they're like, who are you? But we made up for lost time and have become really close the last 10 years. So in addition to my family, I have a lot of friends in attendance here today, those who have supported me over the years, and I'm struggling with the audience, so if I don't make eye contact with you. All right, Craig Lohman, I've known you for 40 years, and you've been at my last 2 promotions. Appreciate you coming up from Florida, and you also never fail to make me laugh. Major retired Rachel Thorne, my battle buddy from our time in Bulgaria, and one of my best friends to this day. My best friend Ryan, who I met in the most unusual way. You might have to ask her to tell you that story, and her incredible husband, Jack. Barb, I also met you a very unusual way, and really appreciate getting to know you and Brian over the last, I guess it's been about 5 years. Right. Colonel Alexia Fields, a fellow Army Reserve officer, became an instant friend during Battalion Brigade Pre-Command Course back in 2017, and grew closer to during our mobilization at Army North from 2020 to 2021. Carol Gaddy, retired Army Reserve Colonel, who's been friends with my mom for over 20 years, and she quickly became friends of John and mine. My Army ROTC buddies, I think you all split up. My Army ROTC, Todd and Tim. Where are you? I saw you earlier, Todd and Tim. So Army ROTC, this is back in 1988, 1989, and we went our separate ways, but you all remain good friends to me, and along with Chris and Jody, and appreciate you coming to the promotion ceremonies, the dining outs, multiple dining outs, and then here today. Sue Henderson, otherwise known as TCCS, my former fellow ESC commander turned boss turned chief of staff at TRANSCOM. It's such an honor to serve with you and become friends with both you and Bill. My last 3, I think I have 3. My last 3 senior enlisted advisors. I see Sergeant Major Heiss here. I saw Sergeant Major Gwynn. Did Chief Brungens make it? You are. You're hiding in the back. Okay, good. All right. So Command Sergeant Major Keith Gwynn, he was my battle buddy for 27 months while we served as a command team at the 310th ESC, and we got in a lot of windshield time together. We were determined to visit every single unit that we had at their home station or in the field, and that's 76 units in 51 reserve centers in 11 states. So it was a lot of windshield time. We almost got there, but COVID threw us off that last few months. And it was during that time that we coined the phrase, there is no right time to do the wrong thing. Chief Brungens, my first experience working with not Army senior enlisted leader, you kept me laughing, and you educated me on these crazy Air Force idiosyncrasies, and we also got in a lot of windshield time. We visited the Service Reserve Commands, the TRANSCOM component commands, and I really enjoyed our 26 months together at the JTRU. And Sergeant Major Heiss, liquid logistician, our paths should have crossed before they did, but I had the privilege of working with you during QLEX just recently, and it really means a lot that you're out here today. We just bonded really quick over that exercise, and your knowledge on all things liquid logistics and your dedication to soldiers is just incredible. And you kept me on track with all that advice, and you kept me entertained with stories. I'm grateful for all the 310th ESC personnel who are here today, and they worked for me when I was in command. They remain friends to this day. So besides Command Sergeant Major Gwynn, I've got Laura Schneider, and I did see her. She was my CXO. There, we did some great things over there, and you supported me totally during my command time, even with my crazy ideas during COVID. You know, we took some risk there, but I appreciate your support. Lieutenant Colonel Shane Cater, I did see him there. He was my former deputy JAG, and soldiers can really get up to some stuff. It's just amazing. So we had some interesting times and discussions together. I appreciate you being here. Sergeant First Class Kelsey and Warrant Officer Candidate Glover, they were both here, and they supported with being at Ushers. They were part of my admin team at the 310th and still friends to this day. Colonels retired, Ricker and Shear, and their wives Annette and Dawn. I saw Ricker was way in the back there. Both served as a G3, which means they had a huge load at the 310th, but they kept calm, kept me calm, and just kept things moving. And then Major Shea Holbert, and she helped elevate the command when she took on the HHC commander position during my tenure, and I had the privilege of hosting her promotion ceremony to Major earlier this year. From other parts of my career, in no particular order, nobody get offended, please. And I'm gonna try to hit everybody. I was doing this off the RSVP list. Some people sneak in, like Colonel Kalingo there. So Major General Tony Wright, one of my battle buddies from our 75th Training Command days when we were in Korea, supporting the exercises, and who can forget Set ATO? Or was it Set the ATO? I'm not sure, right? Brigadier General, no, I'm sorry, it's gonna be Mr. Hershkowitz. He showed up in civilian clothes today, but we've been friends for a while, and we built that friendship, and I've gotten to know Julia, and now that you made the correct decision to move to San Antonio, we'll get to hang out a bit more. Brigadier General Chip Sparks, a former fellow Quartermaster Group Commander and Texan, and I was honored to host your ceremony late last year. So happy to see you made Brigadier. Is Colin Morrow here? Did he make it? No. All right. Colonel retired Jamie Huggins and his wife Angela. They know how to find the best art shows in town. You'll have to ask them. Colonel Kirkpatrick, fellow Romeo 8, and now the current commander of the 475th Quartermaster Group. And I've just been so impressed with you since you worked for me way back at the 75th Training Command, and that you took the 475th. I couldn't be prouder, and just seeing the impact you make on the force. Colonel retired Jerry Meyer. Jerry was instrumental in me learning my civilian job at MRTC 13 years ago, and then he and his wife remain good friends to this day. Did Chief Lane make it? I was on Lane. You are here. Oh, you're sitting next to Rachel, Ozzy, another battle buddy from Bulgaria. Really, I learned so much from you on that rotation, your dedication to duty, and you just continuously strive to improve things. Colonel Kinsey, is he here? He's hiding back there, all right. So, Gary, it was wonderful to get to know you during JCWS, and what you did at the Abbey Gate. It was just nothing short of incredible, and I greatly appreciate that you took the time to, you're in the middle of a PCS, to 5th Corps, and that you came out here means so much. Two of my former ARE directors, Colonel Sargent and Colonel Van Zee, still hanging around, so I appreciate you being such great friends and made my job as JTRU commander easier, and I've enjoyed getting to know your wives, Mindy and Michelle. Colonel Mattingly, I did see you smiling at me over there. So previously served over at the Air Force Reserve Element, now the Air Force Reserve Element Commander. And when I saw your name, I was ecstatic because I knew you were just going to continue the trajectory of the Air Force Element. Commander Ann Jefferson gave her kind of a difficult job. Let's really promote the JTRU. And you just knocked it out of the park, and appreciate all your dedication and hard work for that. And Tonya Ellert, I saw her there as well. She retired. Colonel, impressed me with your leadership. I came in the midst of COVID, and you were there leading that team, and I also appreciated that I was able to officiate your retirement ceremony. Lieutenant Colonel Scott Sumbles, an MC extraordinaire. You just set a standard, but when we were transitioning from JTRU to TCRE, and we're kind of trying to figure out how we're going to do some continuity. And here's an AGR, just jumped right in and assumed a lot of those responsibilities and made that transition so much easier. And I greatly appreciate your support. And when I asked him to be my MC today, he didn't even hesitate. And then Major General Dana Nelson, you don't know how glad I am that you're here. Like, I could leave. She's my replacement. She's here. You come in with such a positive attitude. She's like raring to go. She's like, give me all the stuff. Give me all the stuff. I'm like, you got it. So I can go. I appreciate you being here as well. Major Costa, I didn't forget you. Another fellow Romeo 8, and then you were on the QLEX mission with us, Sergeant Major Heiss and I, and really appreciated getting to know you, and I know you'll continue to excel. So, 38 years, let me just talk about Kalingo, because you weren't on my list, that worked with me and Colonel Kirkpatrick at the 75th Training Command. I was so excited to see you come at TRANSCOM, and you've really driven forward that, the Global Bulk Fuel mission and everything that you've done with that, and I appreciate you coming out to the QLEX as well, and I'm glad that you're here. All right, so it was 38 years, 4 months, and 1 day ago I raised my right hand, and my father, Lieutenant Colonel retired Chuck Swanson, swore me into the Army Reserve. 35 years, 2 months, and 12 days ago, I again raised my right hand, and my mother, then Major Swanson, swore me in as a second lieutenant. Neither of those times did I think that I would be standing here decades later retiring as a Major General. This is a difficult milestone for me because I do love serving so much. And ma'am, I appreciate how you said that. You know, I fell in love. I did fall in love with the Army, and I love to serve. But it's a moment to celebrate because I have had a wonderful career. I have no complaints. My career has been diverse. I've been enlisted, I've been an officer, I've served in the National Guard, I've served in the Reserve, I've deployed to Iraq, I've mobilized to Fort Cavazos, to Germany, to Bulgaria, and Fort Sam Houston, though Fort Sam Houston was not bad. I've served in Korea, I've been on staff, I've commanded, but in every assignment, no matter what I was doing, I felt like I was contributing something to the larger mission, and I've walked away learning something significant. The question I've gotten most often, I think it started with Major Costa, was what was your favorite job? And I can't say that there was one job, and really trying to pick a favorite job in the Army is trying to figure out, or pick your favorite flavor of MRE. It's just impossible because they're all equally memorable. But I do have three great jobs I want to highlight. And the first was as a support operations transportation officer for the 172nd CSG, and we deployed to Iraq in 2004. I lobbied hard to get on that deployment, mostly because I knew the other officers who were going, and I knew that they would make the mission successful. If I was going to go to war, I was going to go with the best. So 2004, as it turns out, was one of the 3 most difficult years in that war, and we had significant challenges. On April 9th, 2004 is a day that remains in stark memory. Our convoys were attacked, the roads were closed, we could not push out supplies, and we lost several soldiers and contractors. We had to turn doctrine on its ear and figure out a different way to get essential supplies and fuel delivered to the forces. One of my retirement gifts, it's over there from John, it's an American flag flown over the US Capitol, and it was flown on the 20th anniversary of the attacks on April 9th, 2004. Out of that deployment, and I told you I was going to go with the best, 5 officers are currently 2-star generals or retired 2-star generals. We had the talent, but that deployment just set the foundation to make so many officers successful. But most importantly, it was just hot. Like, did I volunteer for this hot? Like, it's never been so hot. Except maybe, ma'am, in Al-Udeid. I think Al-Udeid might be hotter than Iraq. Another great job I had was as the chief of the movement tracking branch at U.S. Army Europe. And it wasn't so much that job, but I had the opportunity to deploy forward to Bulgaria for 5 months. So that was the Task Force S4. And in that role, I was responsible for all things logistics for the rotational units. They came from the active component, the National Guard, and the Bulgarian Army. And the biggest lesson I learned there was supporting commanders to get to yes. It was also my first experience with multimodal transportation and being in charge of extensive synchronization for equipment redeployment, bringing together commands and staff, Bulgarian Army forces, host nation police, and local and Army medical support. But I'll tell you, it well prepared me for the last 2 days where I coordinated the arrival of 22 family and close friends with 3 TLFs, 1 Airbnb, 3 airport pickups, 6 airline flights, 4 drivers coming in, multiple grocery runs, and a dinner last night. The last 48 hours was way harder than the movement of Stryker BCT equipment out of Bulgaria. It's amazing. So lastly was my assignment as the commander of the 310th ESC. And I already mentioned there are a lot of people here today who serve with me at that command. And sometimes as a commander, you're fortunate enough to get a team of people who are committed to excellence, and they're willing to move towards a common vision. And it's where we become a family. So like any family, you don't necessarily agree, but we discussed issues and we came up with solutions. With the team at the 310th ESC, we took the ESC from near the bottom of all ESCs in USARC to the top ESC in USARC in just 2 years. I was also still in command of the 310th ESC during the first 4 months of COVID, and I worked with Command Sergeant Major Gwynn and Ms. Schneider to lessen the readiness impact to our forces. And we had to make some really tough decisions. We took a lot of risk. It helped that my boss at the time, Major General Greg Moser, he gave me a lot of leeway, but I think he really just was tired of dealing with my constant phone calls and hearing another one of my bright ideas. But we were able to do what we needed to do. Throughout all of my experience, I've learned important things. I'm just going to highlight 2 key ones. First is never say no to an opportunity. And what I'm about to tell you might be a little surprising to the active component folks here today, but in the reserve, we had a lot of say in what we're going to do. And sometimes we apply, sometimes we're asked to do things. And I wanted to say no to quite a few jobs, but I figured if a senior leader was asking me to take a job, there was a reason they were asking me. But my first thought always was me. You can't find somebody competent to do the job, so you come to me. But I always took the job, and I always learned something. And what I found out is those jobs that I wanted the least were the jobs I learned the most. And also, I have some fantastic stories to tell at parties on some of these jobs. But second is the importance of mentorship, and General Van Ovis alluded to this. It's just important to me because of the impact of mentorship to me. So there were 2 that were really important in my career. Colonel, now retired Leroy Ontiveros, and Major General retired Mike O'Gwen. Truthfully, I should have been out of the Army a long time ago. In 1997, I happened to join a unit that just happened to be about a half hour from my house. It was a 363rd CSG. And I was a wayward and clueless lieutenant, really. I was wondering if I should just finish my obligation and get out. But my very first day of the unit, it was then Major Ontiveros sat me down, and he asked me about my plans. I was like, well, that's easy. I had no plans. But then he told me 4 things I needed to do. He says, change your branch to one in logistics, attend the captain's career course, go to the multifunctional logistics course, and take company command. That 15-minute conversation totally changed my mindset and totally changed where I was going in the Army. I did everything he recommended, and it set the foundation for the rest of my career. But it also taught me to have a plan, or at least pretend you have a plan. And so if a senior officer asks you, yes, sir, I got a plan. So we'll fast forward to 2016. I was working as a government employee for a 1-star general at Medical Readiness and Training Command, and the 1-star general was Mike O'Gwen, now retired 2-star. He knew I was also an Army Reserve colonel, so he sat me down to talk about my career. I said, so I got 3 years until MRD. I'm more than happy to retire as a colonel. This was way more than I ever expected to achieve. And he told me I was limiting myself. He said, you already are in War College and planning to graduate, and you only need to take brigade command and you'll be competitive for general officer. I thought he was irrational. I was like, there's no way I am competitive for general officer. But I thought the worst that could happen is I leave the Army having had brigade command. So I took his advice and I applied for brigade command, and to my surprise, I got my #1 choice, which was the 475th Quartermaster Group. And as it turns out, Mike was right. He believed in me more than I believed in myself. And 3 years after that conversation, I was promoted to Brigadier General. Again, another 15-minute conversation that changed my career. And it's because of those interactions that I make sure I pass it on, and why I have such a passion for mentorship. I spend a lot of time mentoring officers because I want to see them succeed. Sometimes they don't know what they need to do, and sometimes they just don't have the confidence in themselves. So I try to instill that in them, and seeing them change because I spent some time talking with them is just tremendously satisfying. And since I made the decision to retire, I've thought a lot about what the Army's given me and wondered where would I be if my mother had not influenced me to join? If I had not made the choices I did, and it was all based on interactions that I had that made an impact to me, the opportunities I was given and the mentorship I received. And honestly, I have no clue. But the one thing I know for sure is the Army has given me 3 critical things I likely never would have had: extensive education, broad leadership opportunities, and a sense of purpose. In the Army, I've gotten 3 master's degrees, and I've attended dozens of professional development schools. I've had the privilege of commanding at company, brigade, and division level. And everyone here today wearing a uniform or has worn a uniform, you can attest to that there is a sense of purpose in what we do that cannot be replicated in the civilian world. So I'm forever grateful for the opportunities that the Army has given me, because I am the person I am today because of them. Today's a bittersweet day. Over the years, I've had people tell me, you know when you're ready to retire. And I never fully believed it until the day I made the decision. And it wasn't an easy decision. This was a months-long process. There was a lot of discussions with my husband, with my parents, and trying to decide what I wanted to do. But when I made the decision, I knew it was the right decision for me and my family. So as hard as it is for me to leave the Army, now is the right time. I can look back on 38 years that I've spent in uniform and feel accomplished. I've achieved more than I ever thought possible. I wanted to be a retired lieutenant colonel. That is a fully successful career. That is something to strive for. When I was selected for colonel, that was just an opportunity to add a couple more years to my service and do a few more things. But making general officer, that was just the ultimate bonus, because I was able to stay 6 years more past my colonel MRD, and I commanded an ESC, which is a pinnacle for an Army logistics officer. I supported Army North with COVID response, and I worked for a combatant commander. And not just a combatant commander, it's General Van Ovost. Like, who wouldn't want to work for General Van Ovost? So how am I doing here? Oh, I need to go. All right, so as I close this chapter, the new one's already begun to be written, and I can't wait to see how it plays out. And who knows, maybe I'll write a book, but it's got to be shorter than this speech. So thank you all again for being here today and supporting me throughout my career. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations, General Fasano. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Post the watch.
For 38 years, this soldier has stood the watch. While some of us were in our bunks at night, this soldier stood the watch. While some of us were in school, learning our trade, this soldier stood the watch. Yes, even before some of us were born into this world, this soldier stood the watch. In those years, when the storm clouds of war were seen brewing on the horizon of history, this soldier stood the watch. Many times she would cast a glance and see her family standing there, needing her, guidance and help, needing that hand to hold during those hard times. But still, she stood the watch. She stood the watch for over 38 years. She stood the watch so that we, our families, our fellow countrymen, could sleep soundly in safety each and every night, knowing that a soldier stood the watch. Ma'am, I, H&2, Gabriella Fasano, relieve you of this watch. Ma'am, the watch stands relieved by those you have led, guided, and trained. Major General Fasano, you stand relieved. We have the watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the Army song and the departure of the official party. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Please come forward and congratulate Major General Fasano and her family. The receiving line will start on your left. A reception will take place in the rear of the ballroom. Thank you for attending and sharing this special day.